the fillet and chamfer tools, which can be found up here. I created a very basic cube for us to work on. So the first is the fillet tool. Really, really simple. You can click on an edge and it will fillet all round that edge, as you can see. You can use the arrow to drag it for different sizes, or you can type in up here. So let's say we want it to be 30. Press enter, you have a nice rounded edge. There's lots of different options though. So asymmetric, we can add here, and as you can see, that has changed the start position from one of our points of the fillet. If we wanted to make it a bit further along, we could say make it 15, and you can see that that has then moved. So you've got a nice smooth curve, but it's not symmetrical as well as asymmetrical. Take that off. You can have a partial fillet, which is quite good. You can do it from both ends if you so wish, but just to show you, so we've started from that end, we've brought it in, let's say 0.2, and let's go for a second end position as well, and let's also make that 0.2. Oops, did not like that. Let's just come out of that and go back into it because it was not happy. So partial fillet, 0.2 there, like so, and then a second end position, you can move that in. It's going the opposite direction, that's my fault. So if we were to go 0.8, that makes sense. Okay, so it's basically breaking this up into measurements along this line. So this would be 0, this would be 1, you've got 0.8, 0.2 of the distance along there. Quite useful. We'll take that one off. You've also got the variable fillet, which is quite fun to play around with. You can add a point on here. So say we want it to be basically between these 2 points. That's not going to be very helpful. So I'm going to take those out. I'm going to add a point on the edge. So we're going to add it on there. We can move it along. And what will actually happen is when if I move this around, put the point on the edge there, we can then basically change how much the radius is going to be. So we can say make that one 40. And if we go and just take this one away, back into this, you can see how that can then be moved along at a different size. Okay, so again, this would be 1, this would be 0. If we go 0.8 along, you can see how this is much wider here and much narrower back at our 20 that we originally set. Okay, so that's going to be 20, this would be 20, and this point here is going to be our 40. All right, which is quite can be quite useful depending on what you're trying to do. So that is really, really simple for our fillet. You'll notice up here you've got a full round, which you can also use. So I can click on the full round. First face will be this one, second face might be this one, and then the third face, it's going to be quite funky, is going to be this one over here, and it's going to be completely rounding about those 2 faces. Okay, so as you can see, it's rounded around this part, which I don't know if you're doing something to do with aerodynamics, it might be useful for you to have a completely smooth rounded surface, obviously depending what you are doing. So that's our fillet. We've also got our chamfer up here, exactly the same concept, except a chamfer is basically cutting away or cutting off the corner, as you can see. And we can change this, so let's make this 20 to make it a bit easier to see. Measurements, in terms of how you'd have these measurements, tangent, offset's probably going to be the easiest for you. And again, distance and angle is going to be pretty straightforward for most people because you can choose, say, let's make this really steep angle, 80. If we don't make that quite so big, you'll see that that's now basically taking it off at a slightly, well, at a different angle. That is pretty much it for chamfer. It's very, very straightforward. You can manipulate it very easily using your distance and your angle. Obviously, you can change the 2 distances if you have this selection, and that will change the angle naturally of your chamfer. So I hope that's useful. Chamfer and fillet tend to be used a lot on basic products just to make sure there's no sharp corners, or maybe to make sure that things can fit together a little bit better using the chamfer angle rather than just a solid line.